Savage, along with Troy Sandage. Troy's been a guest on Social Chatter previously. He's filling in for Phil Gerbishak this week. And this week's guest is Elisa Meredith. So she is the content marketing manager for Tailwind. I'm going to pop on. I'm going to say a quick hello and do a couple things behind the scenes. Hey, guys. How you doing? I know we're broadcasting a little early this week. We planned to do it on Thursday. We had a couple of scheduling things come up. But this is the great thing about live video and the ability to communicate. For instance, over like say Facebook Messenger, we're able to quickly adjust our schedule to then be able to provide you with the show. So I'm excited to be with you all this week. We have a ton of topics this week, and I'm serious. Like we were talking before the show, we've got topics on. We've got Facebook topics, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then some very broad social media topics that I think you'll want to stick around and listen to because these will impact various activities that you do. For example, if you do a lot of traveling, this can be really important. If you're using a web browser, for example, that's also something that you'll want to pay attention to. And everybody uses a web browser, whether it's on mobile or desktop, you're using Safari or Google Chrome or Firefox. But these are some updates that definitely going to affect you and definitely your business. They're actually going to impact your business in a pretty big way, I think. But I'm going to go and bring on Troy. Troy, how are you doing this week?
What's up, world? Digital World, Troy, and I'm great. Excellent.
Great to have you on. So thanks a lot for filling in for Phil this week. He and I were chatting. He was doing some traveling. I think he's got some speaking gigs going on. But we both appreciate you filling in this week for him. So can you tell viewers about tonight's guest? Who do we have on?
We got Elisa Meredith. Yay. Tailwind. So if you don't know Tailwind, it's an app. So they specialize in Pinterest, not only from the analytics to posting, anything that you really need to focus for your Pinterest growth, for your business or your personal brand. Tailwind's app to use, and Alyssa's going to come on board, give you a good blab about that, and we're going to dive right in.
So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on while I finish up a couple things backstage. How are you doing, Lisa? Hey, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So did Troy do a great job with introducing Tailwind to viewers, or what, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I want to add Instagram. So we have an Instagram scheduling tool, which schedules videos, and we have a really great hashtag finder where you can store your hashtag lists too. I know it's a pain to have to think, what were those hashtags I wanted, or go into Notepad and grab them, but we have hashtag lists as well. And we have hashtag in first comment too, if you like that. So we're always adding some new features. Yeah.
Very nice. So how long have you been at Tailwind?
2 years now. That makes me an old timer in startup world.
I know, it's crazy to think something like, you think like, oh, it's been 5 years, and you're like, wow, 5 years is quite a long time. 2 years is a very long time. Fantastic. I think you're doing a great job at Tailwind.
Thanks.
It's a great tool as well. So thank you a lot for joining us this week.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So for viewers that are watching, what's the best place for them to, if they have questions or anything, like what's the best place for them to do that, to ask those questions for you?
They could ask.
Get touch or something like that.
Okay. You can tweet at me, Elisa M. Meredith, or you can go to our blog, blog.tailwindapp.com.
Very nice. Very nice. And I'm going to drop a couple of links here in the description or in the comments for the video. We've got Tailwind. And then which platform do you think is the best for you? Is it Twitter? Or is
Probably Twitter.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and drop that in here as well. So, so Troy, where do you want to start this week? Because we have a lot of topics that we want to cover.
You guys made me do my homework today.
It is. I was surprised at just how many topics there were. I mean, I think there's like 10 total topics, which normally we don't have that many. But where do you want to start?
Are we feeling more serious or more silly?
I'm going to let y'all pick. Y'all can definitely pick on that one.
Elisa, serious?
Let's go serious.
All right, serious. So obviously we can talk about social media visa applications.
Oh, yeah.
I know, that sounds so exciting.
Does this illustrate, wow, the power and influence of social media is so high now and so valuable that we're implementing that for visa applications now?
Yeah. So what do we have going on here? Basically, can you tell viewers what's basically going on here?
So if you don't know, when you're trying to do visa applications now, you're coming in and they get asked you all this information before you qualify. And that's now social media, your data mining for all your accounts will be integrated into that evaluation. That's a lot of red flags for a lot of different people. Is that against privacy? Is that okay? They're data mining different accounts, which should lead to other things. Your affiliations with people where you talk to, whether in the United States or around the world. And all that can come back to be a big issue. It's a data issue. We're still dealing with all these privacy concerns that seem to be taking over the whole entire digital world, so to speak. Me, I don't agree with it. I can see, and excuse my words, but if some people who are more on the radical side see this as a benefit per se, to say look into someone and see how they interact with people, what's their conversations like, is this person a potential threat, and all that stuff. But I just feel it's a little too much. What do you guys think?
My question is about, how easy would it be just to remove your accounts? If there's something on there you don't want people to see, what's to stop you from just deleting the accounts and then not having to report them?
Very true. I also wonder though if they submit the accounts, things are cached, and like they say, when you delete something, something's not really gone. Is that a problem too? Do they have access to the bigger accounts, social media accounts, or Google and Bing and those type of brands to access the information, even if you try to delete them anyway? Or if you're deleting your accounts, are you considered a hazard because of that? Like you try to have something to hide.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Chinese the social credit score, where they monitor your activities, and if you have a certain number of demerits, you can't get a loan or you won't be able to get into college. It's very interesting how that the online and offline are coming together in such real impactful ways.
Sure. I'd also jump in, since now we're going from millennials to Gen Z. This is all they know. At least we had like time to not be online, to be online. These folks are online at age 5. People are making Instagram accounts for their babies before they're even born. So all that traffic, and all, as funny as it sounds, is true. All that stuff is coming on now. It may be even harder for individuals across the country, or in the world rather, to get certain things done because of this as well.
Yeah, I mean, this overall is going to have, I think, a big impact on a lot of people. I will say this is definitely something that you just need to be careful with. I mean, if you've got your social media channels and and you've had these accounts, I mean, they aren't necessarily going to use it to and part of it I think they'll use to verify your information. If you listed something, for instance, on your application, but I think at the same time they might use it for some of the data. Whether it's photos or possible relationships and whatnot. I think in a way, again, I mean. It's privacy. It comes down to privacy, but at the same time, they're also trying to govern social media a little bit differently now. So I think, again, this isn't going to apply to every country that you want to travel to, but they want you to be able to, to basically let them know what accounts you do have so they can probably run it against the database, I assume. So,
I'd also add,
yeah.
and we've talked about this in previous social stuff episodes, whether I was on the show or I watched, where you all also said that, we forget these social media platforms where when you don't read the fine print and you're putting your accounts out there, it's public information. A lot of it is. Now, you may have a private account and keep it to a bunch of friends, but whatever the bylaws within the apps themselves that we're abiding by, that's what it is. And if they decide to disclose that information to someone or whatnot, you got to read the information. You're at the will of whatever the app designers want to do with us too for social, in regards to social.
Absolutely. I think, definitely. And I think as a business, I mean, in a way, I mean, you want to have the information out there, because if you don't put it out there, you're only going to get limited data back, So I think this is a good thing to, do, but I think at the same time, you do have to just keep in mind about what you share. Again, try to be as transparent as possible, because again, I mean, you're also talking about your livelihood, your ability to travel freely and whatnot. So, in a way, you have to give up some things to be able to do things. Anything you want to add to that, Lisa?
No, I'm ready for something silly.
Okay.
All right. Wow. So, we're going to jump right.
So where do you all want to go next?
Let's go Facebook.
Okay, let's talk Facebook. What do we have going on with Facebook here?
think this is one about the Facebook wannabe Bitmojis. Yes, so Facebook is trying to reinvent the wheel. No surprise there, everyone. For their own line of avatars. Uh, sure, I mean, to my personal opinion, if I'm thinking about what Samsung's trying to do, what Pixel's trying to do, it's cool, but I don't think I really use it now. Who would I still feel Snapchat owns that space? You're
Yeah.
thinking of always using it in Snapchat's realm.
Hmm.
I don't know how I feel about it. I'm kind of tired of their copycat scheme. If you're gonna buy Snapchat, already just buy it.
Yeah, I have a Bitmoji on my phone because my 7-year-old friend did it for me. So it's not something I use on a regular basis, but it's kind of fun, right?
Mhm.
So here's the thing. I mean, basically, Facebook is, let's just say, borrowing here, even though we know it's not necessarily borrowing. They're borrowing, the Bitmoji feature. You're going to be able to do customizations. You're going to be able to
Mm.
customize the face, obviously the hair, the clothes, as you can see from the screenshot here, which I think is pretty awesome. Um, they're not going to let you do this manually, so you can't not automatically. You can't upload a photo. You can't have it pull a profile
Right.
photo to create this avatar. But again, I think at the same time, if you kind of look at these look kind of fun, but I think the Bitmoji ones are a lot more fun.
Yes.
So again, this is version 1.0 basically.
Well, I think it's
These
also built for the Facebook audience, which is a bit older than Snapchat, of course. So it's not going to be the same as that or Bitmoji. But it is kind of cool that they'll have sponsored things. So there'll be brands will be able to put their clothing and accessories in there, which of course is another opportunity for ad revenue.
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
we?
So can you kind of explain that part you're just talking about there about with branding?
Yeah, so if you create your avatar and you want to have a Kate Spade purse, then
Mhm.
Kate Spade can sponsor some avatar accessories to be available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
What do you think about what do you think about these, Troy? About Facebook
Well,
avatars?
to add to Alyssa's point, I can see how with Snapchat, that's my point of reference. Forever 21, GQ, they'll have a lot of those brands on there that you're trying to close, and I mean that'd be a perfect world's dream if you had the whole store assembly that you can just try virtually and then go in the store and buy it yourself. I mean, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
next thing going on to have an Uber driver, deliver your clothes. Oh my God.
So
I feel. Tell me if I'm wrong, but do you feel this being released right now is kind of being served as we got to get something out there to point people in the direction of all the negative Facebook has been dealing with the past almost what it seems like forever?
I'm not sure. See, I don't know. I don't really think that it's. I don't think it's kind of deflecting from the kind of the negativity around Facebook. I look at it more as Facebook generates a lot of their revenue. I think what 95% of their revenue is mobile ads or at
Yeah.
least ads. And I'm wondering, right now they're not going to like monetize these avatars, but I think that maybe they will at some point. They'll monetize them, and I think that might be their way to segue from using ads into being able to have sponsored items that can be
Yeah.
monetized. I think to me that to me seems like the bigger play.
I think in the grand scheme of things, wouldn't you think over time we would expect it to integrate automatically with Instagram, and then you're
Yeah,
almost making another application from Snapchat and employing it into the Instagram kind of dual structure as well? Because ads that we post on Facebook can also be in dual going into Instagram as well. So that'd be just another added bonus for people using Facebook Business Manager.
very likely.
Yeah.
I think this is. I think it's a really good. Uh, Even though this is version 1, I think it's a good update. I think that from a business perspective, like, how do you guys think a business could use this? By the way,
Hmm.
Besides adding the sponsored items that Elisa had alluded to,
so the
um,
sponsor. I mean, what else? Is there something else they could use it for? Maybe.
maybe brand loyalty.
It's
Hypothetically, if you have an event, I'm sorry, Lisa, I'm
oh
cutting you
no,
off.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just wondering. It's just for your profile photo, though, right?
Yeah, just for your
Okay.
profile photo right now.
I don't know. It seems like you wouldn't really want to brand yourself with a Facebook avatar to me.
You know how they have
I,
their temporary profile images for support something. Unfortunately, when the disaster happens or there's a certain event going on, a holiday, things like that.
yeah.
People will change it for that. So I can see them changing the avatar, then having a different shirt for, let's say, it's Pride Month or Father's Day. They have something like that, different shirts or attires to kind of show that support in some way, shape, or form. I could potentially see that as an added bonus, but I don't know how many people would use it as of right now.
Yeah, maybe as a kind of a fun little test, but you wouldn't really want to brand your Facebook page with a Facebook avatar that could go away any second.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe, I mean, what do you guys think about maybe a business, if I'm a business, I've got a Facebook page, I got my Facebook profile. Obviously, this is mainly for profiles at the moment. What if I took my Facebook profile and, I connected with some customers? This might maybe be a good way for them to, like, in a way, kind of humanize the brand. I mean, a lot of people, they have a photo up on their account and it's, it's a photo that was taken like 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever. Maybe they could use it that way. Just a thought. I mean,
so are you thinking about in messenger bots or messenger?
maybe in Messenger, or maybe just, if somebody wants to connect with you on your profile, maybe having Facebook avatars might be a way for them to also, kind of get to know you a little bit better, kind of see some of the fun things you do, give you a little bit more personality. Maybe.
Could be.
If I read the article right and saw the images right, if they made this avatar as part of the emoticon reactions, and you click on that, and you have a whole plethora of very specific emotions using that avatar, now that, I think that would work. But again, that's not your profile icon. That's not pushing through ads. That's you interacting. But the engagement with that perspective would be through the roof as far as I'm concerned. People would jump on that right away.
That'd be fun.
I will say, I would love to see these become, so like, almost like, how many of you have been to, like, the haunted house ride at Disney?
Yeah.
So, like, how there are like those portraits, and you'll see, like, it'll be a flat portrait and all of a sudden it'll come to life, like in almost 3D. It would be cool to have these avatars and be able to have them have some motion to them.
Oh,
where,
that
like,
would be fun.
Kind of like now, how you can hover over a profile and it'll, you can make a little video. I think it would be cool to have a virtual avatar. I think that could be pretty fun. So.
Okay, I think you should develop that.
Facebook, if you're listening, we have bright ideas over here.
Yep.
So, well, we'll see what happens with this, but that's Facebook avatars. And by the way, just a quick note to everyone, this is currently being rolled out to Australia, but they're working to get this out to everyone else later in 2019. So people in Australia, if you have this, let us know if you have them, what you think about them. You'll find the smiley face in the comments when you go to comment on something or reply to something, and that should help you set up your Facebook avatar. So where do y'all want to go next, Troy?
Firefox.
Talk Firefox? Okay, let's talk Firefox. What have we got going on with Firefox? And this, I think, is a big update.
So obviously we have privacy is a big thing right now. You see it all the time with app commercials. But the real one just shows out privacy. Firefox is trying to jump in the game since, there's been conversations about Google being looked into and other platforms to just say, hey, we're going to protect your privacy and we're going to take a step further. I don't know if other browsers are going to follow suit to this, but we'll have to see. But I also consider this because it may be a ploy to bring a lot of users back to Firefox, because when I talk to people, they're using Chrome or Safari. So not too many people use Firefox from mainstream anyway.
Yeah. So Safari already did this, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Safari does this. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And the difference here is that it's by default. So when you install Firefox or Safari, it by default it blocks tracking, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not excited about this one as an advertiser.
No.
And rightfully so. You should not be excited about this because what's basically going to happen. So can you explain, like, what's going to basically happen once, basically when Firefox rolls this out and they stop websites and advertisers from tracking you, what's going to happen basically?
Well, just speaking from the world of Pinterest advertising, when Safari shut all that off, we lost the data on about 20% of the conversions coming in from our ads. Okay. So I would imagine with Firefox, it's going to be something similar. So basically, you can't tell if it's converting. It doesn't sound like you'll be able to retarget people based on where they're visiting. Yep. It's not great.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have that if you are in the affiliate marketing business. So basically, where you're driving somebody to a website link, to get a commission off of something, that's going to be a big change possibly with this as well, because you're not going to be able to track, or you're not going to be able to track a user to necessarily make a sale. So I see a pretty big drop in revenue, I think, for a lot of businesses. If that's their kind of their model. Obviously, they're using ads, they're trying to retarget people, they're trying to generate revenue from affiliate sales. I think this is a pretty big update.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, yeah, it's the businesses who depend on advertising, but then again, it's also the advertising platforms themselves who are going to see a major drop. So I'm glad they keep developing new things. They have to.
I want to throw this out there too.
Yeah, sure.
Give some actual numbers. I don't like to spout something out if I can't give the viewers something to stand on. So of course we can Google for this. So the browser breakdown. This is as accurate as of the end of May 2019. Chrome usage is 62.7%. Safari is 15.89%. And Firefox is 5.07%. So basically 5% of all people who use browsers use Firefox. So it's a small window. Maybe that's a fuel for Firefox to just get more users back onto the browsing platform, and that's their kind of pitch right now, since a lot of people aren't using it in that directive. Google obviously owns the market, but I still don't know. It's still a problem, because if people still go through my website or go through Spotify or click on a product or Pinterest or Instagram, and they jump and the UTM code goes through a Firefox browser, crap, I lost all that data, and we're just like, well, hopefully they check out.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely going to have to know more about your customers. I mean, and one of the easiest ways to do that was to do some retargeting. And again, I mean, like you said, it's not a huge percentage of users, but you also kind of have to look at it as a whole. So we know that Safari is obviously already doing this. Firefox is next. Google might very well be next as well with, Google Chrome. So very big concern.
Yeah, I wonder how they'll think about it, as having a huge ad platform themselves. Would it be shooting themselves in the foot to do that? I don't know.
So what do you think? So what should a business do? If I'm a business and, I'm concerned about obviously people that are using Firefox or customers that are using Safari and not being able to track those customers, what should I do instead? Any recommendations?
I can speak specifically to Pinterest. They have something called enhanced match, where they're able to recover some of that data. So I would definitely look into that. And I'm not sure if other platforms have something as well, but probably the biggest thing is just to be aware. And if your conversions fall 5% next month, realize why.
Definitely. And do you think that, if people's conversions, like if they start seeing their numbers drop, how much, how much should they freak out basically if that happens? I mean, should they kind of like, just kind of let it go and, kind of expect it?
Well, yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I think, I think some people like they're, like, oh, if they're like all of a sudden get their numbers and all of a sudden there's a big dip. I mean, are they going to should they take the time? I mean, personally, I think they should take the time and try to figure out where that dip came from. Obviously, we very likely know, but, is there something like anything else they should try to do maybe?
I would, instead of looking at the conversions reported in your dashboard, look at your actual revenue, right? So you have to compare year over year. So if everything is still looking good, then you can probably assume that 5% you're no longer able to track is still working. It's not perfect, but it's something.
So Troy, anything you want to add on that about?
I think a few things. I think to answer your question about looking at your dips, I think it strongly depends on how tight the company is. If you're got it down to like a penny, where this month product, if you're a product company selling products, or especially e-commerce, you're at the mercy every month, and that's how you have that situated. People who have services, or maybe a bigger company of that nature, have a higher profit margin of profitability. If they sell one of the products, there's a little wiggle room in there. So you really need to understand kind of the life cycle of your history of everything. That does come back to knowing your year to end from the previous year and compare that to kind of benchmarks from this year. Are you on trajectory to go above or below where you were before. And that's
Their eggs in one
a lot of
basket.
people don't like to do anything with data.
Right.
So that's my point with that. I also think, sure, let's say, God forbid, the ad situation blows up and we can't really do as much as we could. That doesn't mean we still can't add conversion codes on our contact forms and have a lot more data invested on the final back end for the downloadables when they buy products, and then kind of backtrack that way, or use that as like your compass moving forward in between the inconsistency between when they first click on the link and when they buy the product. So there are some stuff in that realm from apps, plugins, and software you can use to really boost that up, and then hopefully have enough insight to make suggestions on if you need to make changes to your campaign.
I think that's a good point. And the other thing I'm also thinking about here is if I'm a business and let's say I'm generating, I need to go through my, my sales report, for example, and see where all my revenue is coming from. Is it coming from products that I actually make? For example, it could be coming from a workshop. It could be coming from an online course and whatnot, or some coaching, for instance, that I offer. But if you notice a high percentage of your revenue is coming from affiliate sales, and all of a sudden you have a big drop, maybe it's time to also consider having a different revenue stream, or coming up with a different revenue stream. Maybe you don't have any workshops you offer, and you see a big hit to your affiliate sales. Maybe you need to come up with some workshops, that can supplement that. I think again, try to be one step ahead. I mean, know that hey, I don't want to depend on this all the time, because all these changes come up and my business gets in flux. So that's probably what I would do. Definitely looking at some workshops, or some services and whatnot you can offer someone. And don't be afraid to look at other companies. Like, look at big companies. What are they doing to generate revenue? Do they make their own products? Are they selling goods and services? Is there a certain way that they package their, offerings to their customers that you can also mimic? So,
yeah. And I think if you want to try to keep the ads going, you can, I don't know, I would guess that not many people are using Firefox on mobile. So if you separate out your mobile results and see, are those pretty steady? Then maybe you're not really taking a hit, even though it looks like you are.
Definitely. So anything y'all want to add on this before we switch to another topic?
I got one more thing.
Sure.
When you do an ad budget, many people think of PPC, so just straight up Google ads, being ads, things of that nature. You can allocate some of that funds away from Google and employ it into Facebook and use Pixel, use Tailwind and Track, and use other apps, other social media platforms to kind of bypass and get you a little further around the cycle of the process, maybe nurturing the leads that way too, and still get enough data to see where your audiences are coming from. Because sometimes when you're dumping all your eggs in one basket, like a lot of people just want to, hey, I'm going to drop $5,000 a month or $5,000 a quarter into Google Ads for search and calls to get the phones ringing and people just bringing traffic to the website, and you still don't have a landing page and modified workflows. It still won't help you, and it'll be a waste. Even if all this gets implemented, there's still a waste out.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so we covered some of the boring topics.
Depressing lots.
I would say, maybe we should say depressing, not boring. But so we covered these, and we've got a bunch more we want to talk about as well. So just a quick reminder to everybody who's watching, if you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, we do have a daily email that goes out that will also include a recap of everything we're talking about on this week's episode as well. You get that by going to socialchefs.com/daily. So, Troy, where do you want to go next? So we've talked a little bit about Facebook. We've talked quite a good bit about some updates to social media that's coming down the pipe for everyone. But where do you want to go?
Twitter or LinkedIn? Twitter, LinkedIn. Let's do LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay, so what do we got going on here?
Ad review. Oh, so personally for me, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. I've had bad experiences with LinkedIn ads. I'll be honest. When you sent me the topic, I was like, oh no, I'm not. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm not the guy. But I am open. They've made a lot of changes in the not too distant future. So I am curious to see how this is going to work for other individuals. But I mean, the ad review might be an assistance to help people to really modify the LinkedIn ads. It may be making more user friendly. I found from the previous experiences, it's just like a year or 2 years ago, give or take, it was quite difficult to modify everything. You didn't have any much fluidity to draft everything as well. So hopefully this kind of puts them in the right direction for sure. And kind of at least maybe it's not on par with maybe Facebook ads just yet, but it might put in the right direction.
Yeah, and basically, for those of you watching, what's happening here is LinkedIn is starting a monthly blog, and this is a series. Basically, it's LinkedIn Ad Review. What they're basically doing is taking a top performing piece of LinkedIn sponsored content, and then they're going to review it and they're going to analyze this content, and they're going to go over things such as the headline. They're going to go over the text that you're using. They're going to go over the image and whatnot, and in a way, they're basically breaking down the ad for you on LinkedIn so that you can run your own ads and obviously use some of these things as guides. So like what we have pulled up here is the Autodesk ad. This is one of the first ones that they did for LinkedIn Ad Review. Alyssa, what do you think is, what do you think about this, by the way? Do you think this is a good move?
I think it's a good concept. I think one blog post a month about this is probably not enough because people need to see different examples. So I do a show with Tailwind called Marketing Unleashed. It's a Facebook Live that we do. And some of our most popular episodes are the ones where we ask people, show us your Instagram account and we'll give you pointers on whatever the topic is that week. So they could have taken this somewhere really fun and done a live kind of interactive teardown of ads. I do love the concept and I like how it's very actionable and they point out this is why it works, but I think they could have made it a lot more fun and they could have scaled it up a bit.
Yeah. And I mean, again, this is one example. I do like the fact though, that they're doing something that Facebook doesn't do. And, and that's basically, they're not Facebook's not out there showing you ads. They kind of leave it up to other people to kind of tell people why, this ad's successful and whatnot, or why that one's successful. I like the idea of doing this, but you're absolutely right. It does need to be more frequent. I mean, one a month, if I'm not in the software industry with Autodesk here, that's, I got to wait another 30 days to see what's next. And I realize it'll take some time, but I think this could be a very useful series if their goal is to educate people on how they can be successful with their sponsored content on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and this may be their test. Maybe they're planning to do a LinkedIn Live series at some point, and they just want to see if people are interested. But I think they could assume people would be, because we want to know how to spend our money wisely. Definitely.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you more. So Troy, anything else y'all want to, any last words on LinkedIn
Do we
ad
feel
review?
this approach is it for older leaders in the executive world or more to the younger entrepreneurship generation, or is it kind of a balance for both?
I think it's probably going to be a balance of both. It's hard to say. I mean, they've got one example out here, but I think it's going to come down to whoever's managing it.
Yeah. Whoever's actually creating the ads. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to necessarily be the CEO, unless they're a solopreneur, but chances are that solopreneur is not going to get featured in a LinkedIn ad review, I'm guessing.
Nope.
So that's LinkedIn ad review. So any other thoughts on this one before we move on to the next one?
Give us more.
More and more. We want more. Okay.
All
By the
right,
way, I want to thank everybody who's watching. We got Tim Son. He was a previous guest joining us as well this week. Tim, thanks a lot for joining us. So where do you want to go next, Troy? We've talked. We've been like all over the place. We've hit the LinkedIn's here, but we've got some Instagram updates and we've got a couple of Twitter updates and then some tools. What do you want to do?
Let's do Instagram. It's right next door. It makes it easy.
Okay, let's talk Instagram. So what in the world is going on here?
So Instagram ads, we love them, we hate them, we get tired of them because they monitor us. I don't know.
We buy stuff from them all the time.
With this one, we're talking about how now we do our own posts and can convert them now to ads. It's for creative brands, which I think really help Instagram influencers with their content and across the board. I think it's a good thing. I don't see a problem with it at all. I'm actually excited about it to some degree, especially if, or even for our own brand, just the clients that we would work with in tandem, or even collaborations to kind of how this is, but on Instagram, I could see it be very beneficial.
Yeah, and basically, I mean, for those of you, watching, what's happening here is, well, let's talk about what the problem was. So basically, the problem was this. So you would have brands that would want to run ads, and then they weren't able to get their content right in front of the right users. So that was problem number one. Problem number two was that you had people running, they were making posts, for instance, on Instagram, and we've seen this umpteen times. People were talking about, hey, people that are like getting, basically free product from a company. They're not actually telling people in their ad that, hey, this is a sponsored post. So what they're doing with this branded content ads on Instagram is basically they're trying to marry the two. So basically they're trying to connect the creators with the business that wants to get their branded content out there, but in front of the right audience. So that's the first part. Now, the second part is the content actually has a promotional option that's displayed here in the hashtag. So basically it'll say, something to the
Ad.
effect, it'll say like ad or like promotional post. And actually, let me try to bring this up for everyone. And let me see if I can bring this up real quick for everyone and we'll get an idea of what this one looks like. So this should be a close up, I think, of the image. Once this hopefully loads, there we go. So it'll say paid partnership at this point. At the bottom, it'll say paid partnership with Lululemon. So we've got that one. The other one also is very similar. So that's the Instagram branded content ads. What do you guys think? Good move, bad move by Instagram? I mean, this means more ads, but what do you think?
I personally think it's a great idea. You're encouraging more collaboration and more transparency between the brands and creators, which I think is fabulous. What would be really cool, and I don't think you can do it, is if you could advertise to the creator's audience. I don't think you can do that at this point, but that would be neat.
Yeah, I don't think you can basically retarget, right? You want to retarget them? Is that what you're looking to do?
Yeah, I was just thinking if you could create an audience based on the creator's followers, that would be pretty neat.
That would be pretty cool. So Troy, what do you think, by the way? What do you think about branded content ads on Instagram? More ads?
I think it's good, as Lisa said, the transparency side. I mean, we think of big influencers had a big conflict of interest with their audience because they didn't know it was an ad. Because back then they just put the ad hashtag, thought that covered all the bases, and they didn't know it was sponsored and everything else. So I think that right there just helps and makes it more authentic. And sure, especially if it's targeted to people I already follow or brands or issues that I already am a brand loyalist to, I wouldn't be threatened by this at all. Obviously, I'm like, oh, great, something else I can dive into for sure. I think it's going to make for greater creative collaborations, better partnerships. And I think to some degree, it might be a way to show which influencer, if that's still going to be pushed, is more effective for that brand as well. Because now everything's out in the open, and they can really see who's doing what and how effective they are to bring in whatever that CTA is.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, when you try to work with these supposed influencers. A lot of times, a big company, they'll just, they throw money they either throw money or they just bring the person out. And it's like, well, you're not really getting anything in return. You're getting somebody's presence, but most of the time those people aren't doing anything to actually help your brand. They don't really care about your brand. So I love this idea. And I actually love the idea you just mentioned, which I think it would be really cool if, for example, within this, you could actually see which influencers are moving the needle. Obviously, because the posts are going to have paid partnership with on the content, but you're also then going to be able to see which user is helping you drive the most revenue for your business, or maybe it's to drive signups. Who knows? It depends really on what the KPI is you're trying to measure. So I think it's a really good move. Lisa, do you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, and this may be the case with all sponsored posts like this. I'm not really sure, but I like the way that when you see the post in your feed, it will have the creator as the one who posted it, right? So it'll say sponsored, but it doesn't look like you have sponsored it until you look below. So I think that's a nice way of making sure people don't just kind of filter it out as an ad necessarily, because they see the creator's image, and so they might be more likely to give it a look.
Definitely. And for those of you who want to implement Instagram branded content ads, basically 2 simple steps that need to happen. So for creating branded content ads, the branded content creator, they need to enable their business partners to promote their post as an ad. And that's done from the advanced settings menu according to Instagram. And then once they do that, the business partner is going to see the post on Ads Manager. obviously Ads Manager over on Facebook. Hopefully that doesn't get confusing for anybody.
Not at all.
So under the existing post option, and then you'll be able to choose to run that as an ad in your feed or in the stories format. So again, I'm waiting kind of for all this to kind of converge at some point because, we're talking Facebook here, we're talking Instagram, it's a lot to really kind of keep up with. But I'm going to drop a link over here to some step-by-step instructions if you need to set this up.
I'd also add to this, when you're dealing with ads, we joked about it recently. For those who don't know, and I could be saying the username's wrong. I think her name was Avi. She had like 2.2 million followers, and the whole big store. She was trying to sell some shirts. She didn't do any organic, proper marketing at all whatsoever for the brand, and she complained how she couldn't even sell 36 shirts, and she had 2.2 million followers. So obviously, I think this is a good step in the right direction to see adequately what creators are working for a particular brand and how, and it's challenging creators to make more effective content as well.
Definitely. Point. Nope. 100% agree with that. I mean, that's we talked about that example last week as well, that was a bit of a concern. I mean, the person was, it doesn't matter if you have 2 million followers. If they're not engaged, if they don't care about what it is you're offering, it's going to be, you're going to have a hard time moving anything. And then that's going to actually be very obvious to, people who are following you, for example, expecting, oh, hey, they got these 2 million followers, they're going to generate a lot of revenue. No, not necessarily. So definitely keep that in mind. That is a really important one. So are we finally at Twitter? Or are we going to move to to tool time? What do you think, Troy?
I mean, I'm down to jump to Twitter to tool time.
Okay, so what do we got going on with Twitter? We got a couple of updates.
Which one are we talking? The fast signs or the new officer position?
Let's talk about. We'll put the tweeter in chief. We'll put that in the blog post recap that people can get by going to socialchefs.com/daily. Let's talk about the sign-in process. So like skipping all the like sign in and sign out hassle, for instance, on Twitter.
So I'm kind of confused though. I think like, okay, it wasn't just me. Okay, I got that out my chest. Because for a minute I'm thinking, I'm like, well, on my mobile app, when I have like, I think I have like 10 Twitter accounts right now, branded on my or other accounts, where I can just drop down and switch like normal, kind of how if you think about Instagram, if you have 5 accounts, you can just switch that way too. It's pretty fluid. As is now, it is not as fluid on a PC, Windows browser. It is totally not. Just for far as the app. So if they're implementing that, and I see they have a drop down where you can click to do it, and that's great. If I have this understanding correct.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I've been able to do this for years. So, and then what in the world is Twitter Lite?
And I will 100% agree with you. I was like going through this and I was like, how is this any different than the ability to like do this switching that we've had for like, who knows how long? I mean, it seems like Twitter's had this feature for quite a while, and then I think Instagram borrowed it.
Yeah, I don't get it. This must be why they need a tweeter in chief.
Very possible. I mean, for those of you, so Twitter Lite's a data and storage friendly way to use Twitter on a smartphone.
Oh.
So mainly for people that are on, low bandwidth networks, so ones that are on 2G and 3G networks. Obviously, we've gone past 4G LTE and then now onto 5G. So if people are in those in those areas where they have low bandwidth, those 2G and 3G networks, they can now quickly switch. So I think maybe basically
that's it, huh?
What?
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think the gist of it is that they're making it easier to switch between accounts on mobile.twitter.com. So for anyone, and I honestly, I don't even know what kind of device you would browse mobile.twitter.com on, because we do have the mobile app. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's on a tablet. Maybe this is their way. Again, maybe this could have been worded differently. You're talking mobile.twitter.com. Most people aren't using mobile.twitter.com. Twitter Lite, obviously, for areas with low bandwidth. So maybe they're kind of thinking, regions of the world where they want to expand Twitter usage. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. I'm just assuming here because
Also,
this
with
wasn't
the
very clear.
mobile.twitter, it could be also if someone's using Twitter browser instead of the app on their phone or tablet
Yeah,
too.
why?
Potentially, maybe.
Yeah, but very likely. But I mean, I'm trying to understand why somebody would use
Yeah.
mobile.twitter.com.
Right.
I mean, I use the web browser for some things because, I think that some things like sometimes you can open the mobile website and then switch to desktop if you need to get certain, views that are not
Right.
available from mobile. But I don't know, mobile.twitter.com for me, I don't remember the last time I've been there. So, but I think it's more of an ease of use thing. So more of an accessibility thing, I think.
Okay,
So,
I like that then.
yeah. So how do you think this, how could this impact a business? And I guess maybe we should like expand, our thoughts on like where that business is at.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is if you're a VA and you're on vacation and you're trying to manage your clients' accounts, you grab Twitter Lite and then you can easily log back in. But that seems like kind of an edge case.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one. Okay. What? Any other thoughts on how a business could use this one, Troy?
No, I mean, I do feel like you back to if you're dealing with countries across the world, that maybe the lower bandwidth, maybe the phones aren't as tech savvy as ours. We can't all afford a new iPhone every year for different accounts and things get bloated. Obviously, they're just trying to say, hey, we hear you, we see you. And though maybe we've had it this whole time and maybe they haven't had it the whole time, and they're just making sure that, hey, now it's on every platform unified to be this fluid when you have multiple accounts. And if that's cool, cool. I just feel like y'all should have been done this. So
yeah, and I'll be honest, like I'm so surprised a lot of times when Twitter like rolls out some of these features, and they make me really question. I'm like, why didn't you come out with this one, years ago? Because everyone else has already had it, and now, oh hey, like we're supporting animate. Like we talked about this, I think it was last week or the week before. TweetDeck was supporting animated GIFs and things like that. And I'm like, well, nobody really uses TweetDeck. I'm glad that it has
there
this
wasn't
option.
before. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So very interesting. But okay, so we've got that, and I know we have a couple of other topics. I think we're going to throw those in the blog post. So we're at one of my favorite parts of the show. And Troy, I don't know how much you like tool time.
Tool time. Tool time. Let's go.
So tool time is it's one of my favorite parts of the show. And what we basically do each week is we try to bring you 2 tools that we think can help you as a business. And we don't, we're not recommending, oh, you should just go ahead and automatically use these tools. Tool time, again, I mean, there's plenty of tools out there, but we try to give you ones that can help you with some facet of your business, help you improve an area. So this week, which tool do you want to start with, Troy? Quicc. Okay. So I'm going to pull up Quicc, and let's go ahead and give viewers a rundown. What is Quicc exactly?
So if you haven't been on LinkedIn lately or Facebook, the premise now is we need captions. It's not just enough to.
So why do we need captions?
Yeah. A lot of people don't have their sound on. Maybe they're in business meetings or out and about. They don't have time to hear you. So we want to see you. We want to read the captions and association of what's going on in real time. Obviously, if you don't know, if you're not a video editor, that's a pain. It's a pain. And if you don't have the money to pay for, let's say, Rev, and if you don't want to Rev, it's kind of just a quick way you can take $1 per minute, where they do the captions for you and submit it to you with an SRT, or you're able to YouTube it, download the SRT and add it back. And if you don't understand all the technicalities of Premiere Pro and all that stuff, well, here's a solution for you. Basically, you can upload the video, and the AI feature will put it in there and have the captions. And you can change the font, the background, the color scheme. And if you ever want to, I found out a lot about this by Brian Fan, so I guess he's an ambassador. If I had that correctly, he's one of those ambassadors promoting it as well, where he did a whole few videos now through LinkedIn and all his other social media channels using Quicc as his quick go-to caption feature and putting it on that process. And it's very beneficial. Studies have shown in the past 6 months alone, especially on LinkedIn, it's almost a staple. Ask any LinkedIn influencer, a top person on that platform. Captions is essential to get the most engagement as humanly possible. And as things get faster and we don't have short attention spans, I can just read and move on my variable way than versus trying to depend on hearing, because that's not always a viable option. I didn't get a chance to, the pricing seemed, from what I looked into, okay. Although I will caution, it could seem very limited. So I would
Okay.
suggest if you're trying to
So
do a
explain that.
really big video process, it might be easier to upload it to YouTube, download the SRT file, and implement it that way into an editor program.
Okay.
Then to use this, but for quick social videos, short burst videos, it might be very essential when you don't have the time or resources for it.
So Alyssa, what do you think about Quicc? Have you used it or?
I used it. I got the free, I think, 2 minutes that you have. And I mean, it wasn't tremendously accurate, but
Okay.
it was easy. It was very easy to edit where they got the words wrong. And yeah, compared to other methods, quite easy. But what Troy was saying about it being kind of limited, yeah, it's $65 a month for up to 80 minutes. So if you're doing anything like a podcast, obviously that's not going to work. But like you said, for the real short social videos, it might be okay.
No, definitely. And I mean, again, you could try it out for a couple minutes. I will say, as a business owner, one of the really good values about captioning your videos, is that you're basically doing what most people are not going to take the time to do. Most people are not going to take the time to plan out their videos. They're going to have a strategy. For example, they're going to have a makeshift strategy. They're going to, publish their videos. Just like some of them, just like throw it out there. Like if you look at all of the successful channels, basically what they're doing is everything is planned out. It's planned out, it's thought out, it's very strategic about what they're doing and why they're doing it. So a tool like this, it's a good way to take a smart shortcut or a smart cut basically to get yourself ahead. So again, $12 a month, you can save $10. You can save 10% if you go annual. Again, up to 10 minutes. If you create a lot of short videos, this is useful from that perspective. You basically send them the information, and then they will use AI to automatically generate your captions and whatnot for you. You can try this out. You get like 2 minutes of time for free. I know that's not much, but hey, that's at least probably one video, maybe two if you do about a 1 minute video. So second tool this week is called Speechify. Now, this is we talked about, I think we talked about Blogcast previously on the show, but Speechify basically is taking your text or any kind of text that you have and turning it into speech. Part of the benefit of this tool is you can use it if you're doing a lot of commuting, for example, to places. And again, I mean, we're looking at like usefulness here. So if you're doing a lot of commuting and you want to be able to consume some content, that's one thing you could use Speechify for, but it's also primarily built for people that had some, learning disabilities and whatnot. Maybe they suffer from ADHD, and so on. But this is a useful tool from that perspective to help you convert any of your text, and it can scan your books. So basically, you can upload a book, have it scanned. You can save a web page directly into Speechify, and it will convert it into a natural voice with audio. And I thought it was actually very useful. You can actually download the app and use it for free and try it out. What do y'all think about Speechify, by the way? Melissa?
I love it. I heard about it from Eric Fisher on the Social Media Examiner show, and I had to try it. So I was listening to one of Tailwind's blog posts and trying out different voices. I tried. They have a translator; it will instantly translate for you, so you can try that. You can speed it up or slow it down, and it. You can tell it's AI, but it's pretty good, especially if you get it at a speed that works for you. It doesn't sound too robotic. I think it's great.
Nice. Very nice. Troy, what do you think?
Number one, for those who see the App Store pop up on the Pixel user, you can use it on Android system as well. In case people were wondering, it was just Apple exclusive. I feel like it's needed. Google has an innate app, which I think is slightly personified in my Pixel 3 XL a little bit, that it doesn't work as well. So I haven't got a chance to test it as thoroughly as I would want to, but my initial experience seemed really good. Obviously, there's a need for it, 100%. and not just for people with disabilities, which will still be a prime use. Just as you said, people who are commuting. If I want to go through a whole process of something that's a big long file, I can just have it read to me while I'm doing something else. It just kind of helps the experience, and obviously the ease of use for sure.
Definitely, definitely. And the cost of this, it's $7.99 a month if you want the Pro app, basically the upgraded version of this. Does anybody know what that?
Uh-oh.
No, what?
Did we lose him?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay, cool. We can. Can you repeat your last line? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm saying, what do you think? Does anybody? It's $7.99 a month. Does anybody know what that actually will get you though?
I don't.
I think
Like, is that
the free version.
I mean, you can do PDFs, you can do websites, you could do your clipboard. You could type out your information. I couldn't quite figure out though what the $7.99 was going to get you, even though because it's a free app.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the way it asks you when you sign up. Why are you using this? Is it dyslexia, ADHD, or are you a commuter? It's interesting, and of course, it was developed by a guy who is dyslexic and was having trouble in college. It's just brilliant. And I just like the way it brings that to mind as well.
No, absolutely. I think that's and here's the thing, like it's a product that fills a need. That need is either helping people that, struggle with, for instance, trying to remember things, or people that have a hard time focusing. And at the same time, I think it's also a very useful product, for people that are commuters. I mean, if you commute a lot, and say you're driving somewhere, for instance, say you're spending 30 minutes in a car or something to that effect, or maybe an hour, this is a very useful tool, I think, to use, because it will help you be more productive. You can get the content read to you, and it'll actually will sound like a robot, like you all were saying. So I think it's a good, very, very, very good tool. But any other parting thoughts on these tools from this week? No? Okay. So I think you're going to, can you drop a link to your I think it was Marketing Unleashed from Tailwind. Is that right?
For our show?
Yes. If you've got that, feel free to drop that in the comments. I know we're going to have a blog post recap that'll go out tomorrow with everything in it, all the links, all the topics, all the notes and whatnot. But what's the best place before we end the show, do you have any tips for viewers? So obviously I know you're big on Pinterest, but what do you recommend? Maybe what should people be doing? For instance, how do they consider if Pinterest is the right place for them to go?
Okay.
What do you recommend?
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge that people have with Pinterest is that they try to apply what they know about social media to Pinterest, and it just doesn't work because Pinterest is a visual search and discovery engine. Yeah. So you have to think more long-term, as you would if you were thinking about Google SEO. You have to think about keywords, and you have to think about consistency. So it is very similar to embarking on an SEO journey. Just know that you're going to have to commit to creating great content on a regular basis. It's really a wonderful place to repurpose your content. So you could have one blog post and create 10 different pins for it, and then your content has 10 times the chance to be discovered. Using different keywords on your image itself, although you want to keep it relevant to the article that you're linking to, but just try to use it as a user and observe your own activity, observe what it is how you act on it. What you're probably looking for are ideas. You're collecting things that later you're going to act on. So that's another part of the reason why it takes a little while. For people who are used to Facebook and Instagram, you get a little bit of instant gratification. But Pinterest, people are coming in way higher up in that funnel where they're just starting to think of an idea. And Pinterest really wants people to discover new things. So it takes a little bit longer, but it's that kind of slow burn that just keeps going and keeps building if you stay at it. So
and here's another Pinterest question for you. So if you start to get a lot of traffic from Pinterest, is there a reason why somebody might want to stop using Pinterest, for example? Hey, you're driving a lot of traffic. Do you think that they what would cause somebody to all of a sudden not want to use Pinterest? Hey, you're seeing success. You're getting, it's driving a lot of your traffic. Is there something that would cause that maybe?
that would cause you to want to stop, even though it was working?
Yeah, like are they getting like the wrong customers, for example? What do you think?
I mean, I think where there can be a challenge sometimes is for people who have a strictly local business. So it can be really tough. Say you're a photographer in Arkansas and you want to use Pinterest for your business. Can you do that? Can you get traffic? Absolutely. But will those people be able to use your services? Right? They may be looking for inspiration. They may go to your website to see the shoots that you've taken and love it and take it to their photographer in New York. Right? So it is tricky for local. I mean, you can always do promoted pins where you target your local area. And there are some other things you can do to kind of increase the percentage of visitors who are going to be local to you by using certain keywords. But that is tricky. And that is where you could end up with a ton of traffic that's just not qualified.
Okay. So like, yeah, you're getting the traffic, but you're not getting the right people. Absolutely. So where's the best place for people that, and I think we talked about this at the beginning of the show, but where's the best place for people to connect with you at? If they have Pinterest questions or they want to learn more about Tailwind.
Yeah. So Twitter is Alisa M. Meredith. Feel free to connect with me there. And then Tailwind is probably want to go to blog.tailwindapp.com.
Okay. Got it. Perfect. Yeah. So Troy, any parting thoughts you want to add before we end this week's show?
Well, Pinterest is awesome. If you aren't using it, I need to learn how to use it more. Obviously, as Lisa said, if you're the right audience for that. Privacy is still a thing. Monitor yourself. And to just recap, I mean, Twitter's doing some weird stuff, but I guess it means something to us, I suppose. Facebook, we'll see how the avatars go. I like them, but I don't know. And it's just pretty awesome. So I think it was a lot.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
So we're going to put all the links in the comments here if you're watching on Facebook Live, we'll have the comments there. We'll have the blog post recap that'll go out tomorrow. That one you can get by going to socialshifts.com/SC194. Just going to put that link up here for everybody, but that's going to be the blog post recap with everything. I'll make sure that we get Lisa here to drop all those links as well to Tailwind and to her Twitter account. But I want to thank everyone for spending their Wednesday evening, right? Wednesday afternoon, spending your time with us. Again, if you're watching the replay, thanks a lot for joining us this week. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments. We'll do our best to get to those. And we will see you all next week, next Thursday. So we have an exciting surprise. So thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.
Bye.